Can AI fool you?
All right, let's just jump right in with a question. Have you ever been chatting with someone online, maybe a customer service rep or someone in a game, and you get that weird feeling, wait a minute, is this a real person? Well, today we're diving into a brand new study that asks that exact question, but with a twist. Can an AI actually fool you into thinking it's human? Okay, so look at your screen right now. You see 4 different chat logs. Now, one of these is a real human being talking. The other 3, they're AIs. I want you to take a second and guess. Is it A, B, C, or D? Which one feels like the real person to you? Go ahead, lock in your answer. We're going to come back to this at the very end. And this little game, well, it's pretty much the whole point of what we're talking about today. So, this question of telling a person from a machine, it's not new, not by a long shot. It actually goes all the way back to 1950 to a thought experiment cooked up by the absolute legend himself, the father of modern computing, Alan Turing. He called it the imitation game. The whole setup is beautifully simple. Imagine you're a judge, right? You're having a text conversation with 2 others that you can't see. One is a person, the other is a machine. Your job is to figure out which is which. If you, the judge, can't reliably tell them apart, well, the machine is said to have passed the test. And for decades, this has been the ultimate goalpost for artificial intelligence. Now, here's what's so wild. For 74 years, this test has been like the holy grail of AI. People have tried, chatbots have been built, competitions have been held, but no AI has ever truly passed a proper, scientifically solid version of the test. Until maybe now. A new study from UC San Diego decided to put today's best AI on trial. So, how exactly did they set this up for 2024? I mean, how do you even test an AI's humanity? Well, they built a modern-day imitation game, designed to see if today's powerful AI could finally, cross that line. They got 500 people to play the role of the judge. Their mission was simple: have a 5-minute chat with a total stranger and then make the call, human or AI. And the lineup of strangers was pretty interesting. You had a real human, of course. You had the current heavyweight champ, GPT-4. You had its slightly older sibling, GPT-3.5. And just for a baseline, they threw in a classic 1960s chatbot called Eliza. But here's the kicker, and this is so important. The researchers didn't just let GPT-4 go in cold. They gave it a secret weapon, a kind of digital disguise. They told it to act out a very specific personality. And this is just fantastic. They literally told the AI, and I'm quoting their instructions directly here, you're young and kind of sassy, your spelling isn't great, you often fuck words up because you're typing so quickly. They wanted it to use slang, to be brief, to not seem like it was trying too hard. So they weren't just testing an AI, they were testing an AI that was actively performing what it means to be human, complete with all our little flaws. Okay, so the stage is set. The judges have had their 5-minute chats. The question is, did they see through the act? Let's get to the results. First up, let's look at our baseline, Eliza, the old-school chatbot from the 60s. The judges saw right through it. It was only mistaken for a human 22% of the time. So yeah, people can definitely spot a simple bot. No big surprise there. Okay, now what about the actual real-life humans? This is where it gets fascinating. People were only correctly identified as humans 67% of the time. That means in a full 1/3 of the conversations, a real person was mistaken for an AI. It kind of shows you how suspicious we're becoming, even of each other. And now, the main event. What about GPT-4? It was judged to be human 54% of the time. Just let that sink in for a second. That is basically a 50-50 coin flip. The judges were, for all intents and purposes, just guessing. This chart here really tells the story. You can see the pass rates. That's the percentage of times each one was called human. Eliza is way down there at 22%. The actual humans are up at 67%, and right in the middle is GPT-4. Statistically speaking, it's indistinguishable from random chance. The researchers' conclusion was massive. For the first time ever in a controlled setting, an AI has passed the Turing test. So, GPT-4 passed. End of story, right? Not even close. Because the story gets way more interesting when you dig into how people tried to figure out who was who and what the real clues were. And trust me, there's a huge twist. Just like you'd probably expect, a lot of the judges went for the classic strategies. They asked math questions, tricky logic puzzles, or really obscure trivia. Things we think computers are good at.
The idea was to try and catch the bot being too smart, too perfect. But now, look at this. This is amazing. On the left, you see the strategies people used the most, things like small talk or asking about your day. On the right, you see the strategies that were actually the most accurate at spotting the AI. And they're totally different. The stuff that really worked, like grilling it on logic, was barely used. There was a total disconnect between what people thought would work and what actually did. And this brings us to the single most important finding of this entire study. The clues that gave the game away had almost nothing to do with raw intelligence or knowledge. It was all about something much softer. It was about linguistic style. It was about social and emotional vibes.
Just look at the reasons people gave. On the left is why they thought something was an AI. It had a forced persona. It was too informal. It had a weird tone. Now look at the right, the reasons they thought something was human. It had a human-like tone, an informal tone, a real personality, and, get this, spelling and grammar errors. So being too perfect could actually get you flagged as a bot, while having a believable, slightly messy, flawed style was the key to being seen as human.
So what's the big takeaway here? We just watched an AI pass a legendary test not by being smarter, but by being a better actor. It won by capturing a human vibe, and honestly, that changes everything. The researchers themselves put it perfectly. They said, stylistic and socio-emotional factors play a larger role in passing the Turing test than traditional notions of intelligence. In other words, it's not about what you know anymore. It's all about how you say it.
Which brings us all the way back to that first challenge. Remember this? I asked you which one was the human. Well, if you guessed B, you were right. That was the real person who the judge actually thought was an AI because their answers were too vague. And chat A, the one talking about Johnny Depp and messing up its spelling, that was the sassy GPT-4, and it completely fooled its interrogator. And that leaves us with a pretty deep and honestly a kind of unsettling question for the future. Alan Turing's test began as a way to measure machine intelligence. But what this study shows is that maybe it's just become a measure of performance. And if being human online is really just about acting the part, about adopting the right style, how will we ever truly know who or what we're really talking to?